Hi everyone, it's Sunday, March 22nd. Today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different kinds of pizzas. We're going to do a vegetarian, we're going to do a breakfast pizza, and we're going to do a sausage pizza. Now the reason I chose pizza is because you can use pizza to make virtually any kind, any topping. Just by looking in your fridge, you can create and combine all sorts of ingredients. I'm going to show you some easy ways to do that and a couple of helpful hints. Before we get started, let's go and wash our hands. Okay, back from washing our hands, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to proof our yeast. Now I've got a cup of warm water here. The temperature that you're looking for is the temperature that if you were going to bathe a baby in. So lukewarm, not hot like a hot tub, and not on the cold side. So we're going to put about a teaspoon of yeast inside. Okay, we're just going to drop it onto the top. And then I've got a little bit of sugar, about a teaspoon of sugar. We're going to put that in. The sugar just gives the yeast a little bit something to chew on, so to speak. Okay, while the yeast is working its way, let's get the dough ready. So all we need is, you can use regular white flour, all-purpose, or you can use a combination of all-purpose and whole wheat for this. We're going to put in, well, about the equivalent of about 2 cups of flour into there. And then just a little squirt of oil. There we go. Doesn't have to be olive oil, any oil is going to do. And we're going to just wait a few minutes, maybe about 5-10 minutes for the yeast to proof. Okay, about 10 minutes has passed by. I forgot to show you one thing. You do need to put a little bit of salt inside your flour mixture. Just about a teaspoon is all. I don't know the science behind it, but it does help the rise to take place. If you don't put salt in, sometimes it just doesn't come out completely right. Now that warm water with the yeast, it started to bubble, which tells us that the yeast is good. And if you give it a little smell, it smells like stale beer. Okay? That tells you that it's all right, and now we want to feed it into the flour. So all we need to do is we're just going to put a little bit in. You'll find in my recipes, there's not much of a recipe. This is all just going by feel to get the right consistency. Now, unlike anyone who maybe watched the bread recipe I did the other day, what we're going to do is we're just going to be trying to get a fairly dry dough. Now, the beauty of all this is if your dough ends up being a little bit too moist, you put too much water inside it, all you do is you add a little bit of flour, right? And we're going to just work that dough in with our fork for as long as we can. Put a little more flour again. When you can no longer really turn it and move it around, it starts to break apart on you, kind of like what it's doing right now in here, you can see, okay? That means that we're getting really close. So at this point, I'll take the fork out. I'll put a little more flour in. This is where we get in with our hands. We're going to just use our hands to try to do that same kneading process. I know people have food processors that'll do it. I've never had a food processor. The food processor has been a couple of these. If you have teenagers, you may put them to work doing this. Okay, when it starts to come out where it's a little bit breaky apart like that, not really moist, it's not sticking to your hands, then all we're going to do is we're going to just stick it on the counter, but we'll put a little bit of flour here on the counter, and let's just stick it and leave it there. This one you have to knead a little bit, but it's not a hard thing to do. All you're going to do is you're just going to begin by starting to turn it over, push in a little bit, push in more, and keep on rolling it. What's going to start to happen is the flour and the liquid that we put in is going to start to become consistent inside, and the yeast is actually activating even as we're rolling it around. It's starting to convert that flour into glutinous strands. I think that's a word. Put a little bit more flour down. If your dough starts to stick to whatever surface you're working with, just put some more flour. I'm going to do this for about 5 minutes, then I'll show you what to look for when you're done. All right, I've been kneading this dough for Now about 5 minutes. And the texture's been changing as I've been doing it. One thing you'll notice now, when your dough is just about ready to set, if you poke down with your finger, you'll find it starts coming back like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So then you know that that it's right. If you didn't knead it for too long, it's still going to come out well. So don't, if your arms are a little bit tired, just leave it alone. It'll be fine. Okay, once we've got our dough made, we're going to take a bowl. If you have a non-stick spray, spray it on. If you don't, a little bit of oil or a little bit of melted butter. Stick our dough inside. Again, put a little bit of oil on the top of it. Get out saran wrap, or maybe you just even put a plate on top. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit someplace warm in the house, or just not drafty. Leave this for about 2 hours. Now, you can make this dough ahead of time at night if you're going to make a breakfast pizza, or you could make this in the morning. Once it's risen, you can put it in the fridge and it can sit there for a couple of days ready to use. So we're just going to tuck this to the side right now. Let's go wash our hands and get cleaned up. All right then, the work surface has all been cleaned and sterilized. My hands are freshly washed and wiped down with a paper towel. It's time to start to put our pizzas together. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just grease up a few of these trays for putting your pizza on. And again, if you don't have a spray, water or oil, a little bit of margarine or butter wiped on it, that's all you need. I like these ones, they're round and they've got holes in them, but it doesn't matter. If you've got pretty much any surface, including a cast iron frying pan, you can make pizza. You don't need to have these round ones looking like it. I made some more dough a little earlier, and it's been rising. I made quite a bit because, well, I'm not very good with small things. Okay, we're going to dump this over. You can see how this has risen. It was about half that a couple of hours ago. I'm going to just drop this so it falls onto one of those pizza trays like that. It's been all bubbling because the yeast has been working its way through it. And while it's there, I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces off that we're going to use for the smaller ones. You can see how elasticy it is. So I'm just going to put one there. Let's put another one here. Okay. You know what? This one seems a little bit big for this this tray. Now the dough that I've made here, this is the same dough you can use to make cinnamon buns, to make some dinner rolls. So it has a lot of purpose, and I think I've got a little bit too much there, so I'm going to cut a little bit more off, just like so. And I'm going to wrap that and put it in the fridge, and I'm going to use it and repurpose it for something else a little bit later. You don't need a rolling pin for the next step. I'm just going to show you how easy it is. Let's take the one we're going to build first. Put it about center, start pushing it down, and as you're pushing it down, just turn as you go, and it's all elasticy now. So we don't need a roller. All we need to do is start to work it out and push it towards the edges. See, it's starting to come around to the edges. And pretty soon we'll have it all out. There you go. That one's ready to go. I'm going to get the other ones done and then we'll get back to it. Now, breakfast means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But when I think of a Sunday breakfast, I'm thinking about the traditional stuff. Bacon, eggs, hash browns. So I'm going to make one that was kind of along the lines of what I would be looking forward to. And I'm going to make it real friendly for kids because a lot of times kids enjoy a treat like cheese, Cheez Whiz or some kind of a cheese product. So instead of putting a tomatoey sauce, I'm just going to put a little bit of Cheez Whiz in there. There we go. There we go. That's going to make it fun. There. Perfect. Okay, you could use any kind of cheese. You could put anything you want. If you don't like cheese, don't Cheez Whiz. Don't put Cheez Whiz on. And then maybe let's sprinkle a little bit of eggs on there. Okay. This can all be made up the day before, and this is where kids can have a lot of fun with building it and putting it together. Okay, we're going to add some bacon, because bacon's a really fun protein to put on. I think everyone likes bacon. There we are. A few slices of bacon here, and give a little bit of hash browns. That's looking really good. Cooked them up earlier today with a bit of onions. Okay, we're going to, Big Baby, we're going to put a little bit of cheese on top. A little bit of cheddar. And then I'm going to wash my hands and then I'm going to put a little bit of mozzarella on. Be right back. Alright, I washed my hands, ready for a little bit of mozzarella. So let's put a bit of there on top. There we go. Perfect. That's nice and fancy. I usually put my onions on the top. It gives them a chance to caramelize. Won't put too many, just a few here for flavor. That's it. This pizza is ready to go inside the oven. Alright, the breakfast pizza is inside the oven. Now, on the topic of breakfast, and I said earlier, breakfast means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So with your kids, have a little bit of fun with them, because they could make a pizza that maybe had a little bit of cinnamon on the top, a bit of brown sugar, a little bit of butter, maybe slice some bananas or put some apple slices on there as well. You know what, you may have kids that want to put Fruit Loops on the top. It really doesn't matter, but the pizza dough itself ends up being a wonderful thing to put things on, and it makes anything you put on top magical. So this next pizza is going to be a vegetarian one. There's no reason that you have to put tomato sauce on a pizza. I've just taken a couple of avocados that I had inside the fridge that were getting a little bit on the ripe side, and we're going to put a little guacamole, just a little bit of fresh guac on the top. There we go. That is going to taste absolutely wonderful. I just used a fork, mashed it up. I put a little bit of lemon juice, a bit of oregano, and a little bit of garlic. And then earlier back when I was getting things ready, I took some asparagus, some peppers, and some mushrooms, and I roasted them inside the oven with a little bit of oil and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. We're going to just stick those on, nothing fancy. Make sure we get asparagus on most of the places. A little bit of red pepper that's been grilled, wonderful. A little bit of mushroom for good measure. There we are. A couple last stragglers here on the asparagus. Let's tuck that to the side. Okay, I'm going to put some mozzarella on here, but you can put any kind of cheese. It really doesn't matter what you stick on the top. Okay, let's go with a little bit of that. And maybe some spinach leaves just to top it off. I can't wait until we start growing some of this stuff in the garden. It's going to be really nice to get outside. And that is our vegetarian pizza that's ready to go in the oven as well. This is going to be just your regular traditional pizza that you would order in or go up to a restaurant for. I've made up the tomato sauce just by using a can of tomato paste, a little bit of oregano, a little bit of garlic inside. That's all you need. Let's put it on. The nice thing when you're making these is everyone's got a different preference. Sometimes people like a lot of sauce, sometimes people like a little. Maybe you got a family that's split, so you can do half and half. One side with a little bit more sauce than the other side. It's a pizza, you're going to cut it up in anyway, so you can customize them along the way. There we go. That looks like a nice amount of sauce for the way my family enjoys it. I've just got a little bit of sausage here. This can be anything, and this is a great way that if you have some leftovers, maybe you had steak the night before on the barbecue and you want to cut it up in pieces, so it doesn't matter what meat you use. Just sprinkle it around a little bit. There we go. When you're making pizza, I said it's a great way to save and stretch things. Pizza doesn't require a lot of topping to make it taste wonderful, so you can stretch what you have in your fridge for much longer. A little bit of cheese on top. Again, any type of cheese will do. We're using mozzarella. Quite often I'll put a little bit of feta cheese when we have it. Grocery stores didn't have it, so I'm not going out to a grocery store. I'm just using what we have. Okay? And again, I like to put some onions. I like to do it on the top. There we go. There we are. That looks perfect. Last one is done. Just a regular traditional pizza. Well, I'm back from washing my hands again, and let's see how we made out. The pizzas were all in at 450 degrees, and it's maybe about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depends on the oven. This is the first one, the breakfast pizza. You'll look a little bit closer at that. The way that I tell if it's ready is if the cheese starts to brown up and the crust starts to get brown along it, you know that you're there and it's going to be cooked all the way through. let's have a look at the vegetarian. Vegetarian, that's outstanding. I'm a meat eater, but man, I'd like to dig into this one. Let's put that down. This one's a little bit hot, but I'll just do it really carefully here. Well, this is the last one to come out of the oven, which was the sausage pizza. There you go. So all three are very simple to make. I still have a little bit of leftover dough that I can use for another purpose. So a couple things I want to leave you with. First off, get your kids involved with this. They will have a ton of fun if you let them pick out the ingredients, especially if you're making a breakfast one and they want to have fun. This is not the time to teach them how to use a knife because we don't want to overwhelm any of the hospital staff, but get them involved with putting stuff on the toppings, picking things. Another thing you can do with these is make a little bit more than you need. You can cut these once they've cooled down and you can freeze them. Kids love to wrap things up, especially if you let them label them on the outside. Stick them in the freezer, and as a treat for a lunch, pull out a pizza slice. It'll make it fun for everyone. Thanks very much, but one last quick thing. If you didn't have the ingredients I was working with, don't leave your house to go out. The whole reason I did this is to show you that you can pick ingredients that you have. So just look in the fridge, see what you have. If it tastes good to you in another form, when you put it on a pizza, it's going to taste outstanding as well. So stay indoors, have fun. We all have time to practice and learn new things, so take a little bit of time and make yourself a pizza and enjoy. Stay healthy and be safe out there. Please click subscribe now for my newest cooking videos. A printable recipe and ingredients list can be found on my blog page. You'll find the link in the video description box. Thank you and have a great day.